is Maya, and today for Tasty Tip Thursday, we're going to be cooking some eggplant ragu using some of the farm's tasty fairytale eggplant. So we're going to go over to the table and get cooking. Here are some of the ingredients you're going to need. We've got pasta, some sauce making ingredients, and then we have some of the veggies from the farm that we're going to be using in this recipe. First thing you want to do is get your water boiling, get some salt in there. This is going to be for our pasta. And I'll have the measurements on the screen for you. And then once the water is boiling, we're going to add in our pasta, give them a little stir so that they don't stick too much. You want to let your pasta come back to a boil after you've stirred it. And then once it's done, you don't want to cook them too much. You want them to be about al dente, and you can be sure of that by following the instructions on the box, because each type of pasta, depending on the kind that you get, might be a little different, might need more or less time. And then you can just set that aside. Next, you're going to chop up your onion, and the most important thing to do first is to get it chopped in half so you have a flat surface to work with, and then cut off the tops so that you can peel off the skin nice and easily. And then we're gonna try and get all of our vegetables into a medium dice. So what I'm doing here is I'm cutting across the onion, and then I'm gonna cut down vertically. And then after I make those vertical slices, I'm gonna cut across it again. And then we're gonna have some smallish diced onions that are gonna go in the pan with our peppers and eggplant. Same thing with our pepper, just get off the top, get out those seeds. Any scraps and things can go in the compost or your food scrap collection in your freezer if you have one of those. And we're just gonna cut the peppers in half and then cut them into strips, and then cut those strips into a medium dice to match the same size as our onions, and do that with both halves. And you can put all of it in the same bowl because it's all gonna go in the pan at the same time too. Once you're done with your peppers, you're gonna get your eggplant diced up. Again, you want them to match in the size so they all kind of cook around the same time. We're gonna let our onions and peppers cook together first, and then we're gonna add in the eggplant. But we do want them to still match so that they break down pretty quickly in the sauce. So here we have all of our ingredients. And so next, in a pan over medium-high heat, you're gonna add in some oil, just a couple tablespoons. And then once it's hot, you're gonna get in your peppers and your onions, get those sizzling in there. You also wanna season them with some salt and pepper, paprika, whatever spices you're using, garlic powder, all that stuff can go in now, so it can start to get really acquainted with and seasoning the onions and the peppers in there really good. And we're just gonna let them cook down a bit. If your pan starts to get kind of dry, you can add in a little bit more oil, but you don't have to add more oil if you don't want to. It's not necessary. I just add a little bit extra so that things don't stick too much. Even if the heat is low, sometimes things can start to stick. So get those good crusty bits and flavor from the bottom mixed in there. And then once the onions and the peppers have kind of broken down a little bit, you can start to add in the eggplant. Once you've added in your eggplant and they started to cook down a little bit, they might need about 10-15 minutes. But once they've started to break down, you can add in your tomato sauce. Here, your diced tomatoes, for the recipe, I have diced tomatoes, but on this day we didn't have diced tomatoes, we had whole ones. So here I'm just crushing up the tomatoes with the juice, just so that they are broken down a bit, and getting those all out of the can. But if you have your canned diced tomatoes, this will be a lot easier and a lot simpler than having to crush up the whole tomatoes in there. But either way, once you get all your tomatoes in your pan, just want to stir and combine everything together, and let this sauce break down and get nice and reduced for about like 15 to 20 minutes it should take. You can also cook it a little longer depending on how big your knife cuts were. So here I'm adding in just a little bit of pasta water from the noodles to add a little bit more liquid to the pan, and then you can just let it cook for a bit longer. And once you'll know that your sauce is ready when the eggplant is nice and tender, a little bit more translucent, and then you can start to serve it up with your favorite pasta and herbs, or you can even add Parmesan cheese, and then you're all done. Thanks for joining us for today's Tasty Tips with the Crew. We'll hope to see you all in our next video. Enjoy cooking!